Now, I mentioned yesterday that extraordinary story where a group of women who exercise in an inner city park asked the council to put lighting in. They exercise there early in the morning and late in the day when it's dark, and for their own safety, they asked that the council light the exercise area. Reasonable request. A lot of councillors thought so. But the Sydney City Council knocked it back, and one of the reasons they gave was that the additional lighting would add to the council's carbon footprint. Now, this is one of the councils around the country that has recently declared a climate emergency. So here they are, placing their carbon footprint as a higher priority, and some minuscule addition to their carbon footprint as a higher priority than the safety of women in their parks. This is extraordinary. I'm joined now by one of the Sydney City councillors, Craig Chung. Thanks for calling us, Craig. Thanks for joining us, Craig. What's your view on this? Should the council have found the money to install this additional lighting in the interests of safety?
Well, the extraordinary thing is, Chris, this didn't even get to councillors. This is Clover Moore and the staff of the City of Sydney. And we know that Clover Moore is a climate change evangelist, a zealot. But what we didn't know is they're putting ahead of the public safety climate change. So, of course, a number of women who want to exercise in the park, and we've all got busy lives, they're doing it in the early morning when it's still dark. They've asked for some extra lights, and the staff under Clover Moore have said, no, we care more about the climate and climate change than we do about your safety. You can't get the lights because of this supposed footprint that's going to leave with emissions.
Yeah, now, Labor councillor Linda Scott has complained about this. She's going to take up the issue on behalf of the women. You're a Liberal councillor. Are you going to join forces with her and try and make sure the council overturns this?
Well, absolutely. Look, I respect Linda Scott, and she's a great councillor. And mind you, she is one of these climate change zealots. But on the other side, she recognises that the first priority we have is the safety of our citizens, and that we need to actually be making sure that we do everything we can to make sure that these people are safe while they're out there exercising. And, you know, look, the thing is, we build these parks, we spend all these money on these parks, we want people to use them, and yet we're telling them, no, you can't use them when the sun goes down. And as late as yesterday afternoon, we got some further advice from the staff that if these people don't like this bit that's dark, go and find another park where there are lights. It's just crazy sort of stuff from Clover Moore, and it's what we expect, the hypocrisy from her office.
I just would have thought that public safety, and especially women getting out and being active in a public exercise facility and the lighting, therefore, to make them safe, I would have thought that was an obvious priority for anyone in local government, especially when they're dealing in this particular park is a heavily populated area. A lot of people would use it.
Well, you know, all the parks in Sydney are heavily populated. We're a very dense population in the City of Sydney, so we build these parks, we encourage them to get out there and use them, and when they want to get out there and use them at night time, we say, sorry, we can't put the lights there for you because of the emissions. And, you know, the other ironic thing is, Chris, is that when it suits Clover, she's happy to light up the skies with lights as far as you can see. Of course, Vivid is one example. We light up the town hall whenever Clover Moore's got one of her favourite pet projects, but yet we can't put out some lights in a park, just 3 lights, for the safety of people who want to do some exercise.
Yeah, this is extraordinary because the number of fireworks that Sydney uses in New Year's Eve and the likes, and it is ludicrous, as you say, Craig, but I spoke to you only going back a few weeks and you supported a motion in the council to declare a climate emergency. So haven't you given succour to this sort of madness in Sydney City Council?
Well, look, you know, we did talk about this before, Chris, and my explanation is that I want to be there to discuss these things at the table. And when it comes to the next council meeting, I certainly will be joining my fellow colleague Linda Scott, a councillor, to raise this issue and to talk about how ludicrous it actually is. And look, the hypocrisy goes even further in this council. We've got Clover Moore's C40 Climate Change Conference for Women next year. 500 people will be flying in from all around the world. Can you imagine the emissions that are going to be spread because of this conference here to talk about this talk fest about the climate, and yet we can't put these lights in a park for people to do some exercise?
Craig Chung, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck in getting the council to fund that lighting. Linda Scott, the Labor councillor, will be working with you. There you go. Climate madness in the Sydney City Council. Well, if you think the councils are a bit loopy in Sydney, we'll cross to one in the next hour in South Australia where they're trying to kill Christmas. Yep, we'll follow up on that one as well.